He regrets not apologizing for saying that you were not attractive.
Well, thank God he didn't. That would have been really, really awkward with David there and with all of it. I'm not married to you anymore. Don't talk to me like that. I am now married. I don't. That's absolutely, oh God, that makes me mad, actually. That he would think he needed to, that makes me mad. He has no right whatsoever. That's playing a game with me. That is playing a game. No, that is inappropriate. It's a good thing he didn't. We might have walked out. There's no way.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back. If you've been following this saga with me, you'll remember I've spoken before about the unsettling belief system Kody and Robyn Brown seem to operate under, this idea that they are somehow more spiritually evolved, more enlightened, than everyone else in their orbit. I've pointed out how Kody positions himself almost as a divine mouthpiece, and how Robyn genuinely seems to view him through this distorted, reverent lens. It's a dynamic that has always felt deeply off, a kind of creepy, insular superiority complex. Well, in last night's episode, that curtain was finally pulled all the way back. They didn't just hint at it, they exposed the full extent of their delusional thinking for the cameras. And it all centered on what Kody called an apology tour, but what was in reality something much more sinister and revealing. The entire premise was rooted in an archaic and offensive idea that as we move into a new year, Kody, as the man, needed to formally release the women who left him so they could be free. Let that sink in. He framed it as a magnanimous act of letting go, when in truth, these women claimed their own freedom years ago by walking away from him. Of course, the host, Suki, was utterly ineffectual, allowing Kody, a narcissist with a proclaimed God complex, to spin this narrative without challenge. She let him pretend these strong women needed his permission to move on with lives they had already built without him. It was a masterclass in allowing a manipulator to control the story. But amidst this circus, one person's reaction cut through the noise with crystal clarity: David Woolley, Christine's husband. I have to say, I've come to really appreciate David's presence in this mess. He sees Kody with a frightening accuracy. He has his number, down to the finest detail. He understands his motivations, his ticking clock, his every calculated move. He sees the blueprint of Kody's behavior where others, sadly, still see confusion. Janelle, for instance, seems hampered, perhaps by that non-disclosure agreement we've discussed, into giving Kody's apology more credit than it deserves. She's still, to some degree, seeing things through the old filter. But Christine and David together brought an energy that was undeniable. They were the ones who truly exposed the cult-like control at the heart of Kody and Robyn's marriage. Last night, Kody didn't just seem like a bad husband. He exposed himself as a cult leader, performing rituals of release for his former followers. It was telling that the family consensus was that David needed to be present at this meeting with Christine to prevent Kody from doing anything inappropriate. Just sit with that implication for a moment. What were they expecting him to do? What past behavior warranted a chaperone for a conversation with an ex-wife? We've seen him meet with Mary and Janelle privately, and while he was manipulative and even flirtatiously inappropriate with Janelle, the need for a protective presence speaks volumes about the perceived threat he embodies. The debate over whether David should have been there is a pointless one. He was invited, end of story. But Kody immediately tried to undermine David's right to even have an opinion, stating that David doesn't truly know him, that he only thinks he does. This is classic Darvo tactics: deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. Kody cannot stand a man, an equal, observing and judging his conduct. He needs to be the ultimate authority, the only valid interpreter of his own actions. Then, we got to the moment that laid everything bare. In front of David, her now husband, Kody looks at Christine and says, "I did love you." My immediate reaction, and David's too, was sheer disbelief. Why in the hell am I here? This is weird. As David pointed out, this isn't about them as a couple anymore. That ended years ago. This violates a basic, unspoken code of respect. You don't sit across from your ex and their new spouse and profess past love. It's intrusive, it's disrespectful, and it serves no purpose in genuine closure. Let's flip the scenario. Imagine you're at dinner with your husband and his ex-wife. Out of nowhere, she begins gushing to him about how deeply she loved him, how magical their journey was, how she looks back on it with such fondness. How would that make you feel? What is the true intent behind those words? It's not an apology. It's not closure. It's an attempt to plant a seed, to create a ripple of doubt and nostalgia. It's a power play disguised as sentiment. If you are truly sorry, you apologize for the pain caused, for the neglect, for the failure. You don't reopen the emotional archive of romance. Everyone in that room knew his words weren't healing. They were a form of emotional spewing. Kody has no boundaries. To him, no relationship is ever truly over if he can still exert an emotional pull. David brilliantly dissected Kody's hollow gesture of inviting him to Moab. He saw it for what it was, a test. It was all about what he wanted to say and not about, "Hey, let's do something," David observed. It was a performance, a box to check in Kody's self-aggrandizing narrative, not a genuine offer of male bonding or a step toward blended family harmony. David rightly asked, "Where's Robyn at? This is weird." And he's spot on. If this is about family healing and moving forward, why is the current wife, the one who allegedly wanted this plural family, conspicuously absent? She's always separate when the messy work of reconciliation happens. David's background is key here. He hasn't just observed polygamy from a distance. His own sisters were married to men like Kody. He's been surrounded by this brand of arrogant, narcissistic behavior for decades. He knows the playbook because he's seen it ruin lives. So when Kody offers a superficial, "let's hang out," David knows a genuine person seeking change would want to invest. They would want to know the man helping raise their shared child. They would want to bridge divides for the sake of that child's peace. Kody wants none of that. It's not about reconciliation. It's about control and self-image. This brings us to Robyn's stunning, revealing defense of Kody's behavior. When asked if Kody's "I did love you" comment was awkward for David, she didn't apologize for the inappropriateness. Instead, she pathologized David's perfectly normal human reaction. She speculated that it could be awkward, or it could be he could be enlightened enough to realize that would be something that would heal her. Stop. Read that again. Enlightened enough. Here is the toxic theology laid bare. In their worldview, normal, protective, respectful boundaries are a sign of a lack of enlightenment. Common sense discomfort at your wife's ex-husband declaring love for her is framed as a spiritual shortcoming. Robyn, who claims to have wanted plural marriage, simultaneously argues that Kody's relationships with other women have nothing to do with her, all while making a facial expression that betrays she knows exactly how wrong this all is. She is trying to have it both ways, to claim the elevated, detached spiritual high ground while enjoying the insulated, monogamous-seeming marriage Kody actually gives her. As David and Christine later mocked, what does Christine need healing from Kody about? She didn't leave because she doubted he ever loved her. She left because he treated her and her children with cruelty and neglect. She left because of financial abuse, emotional abandonment, and a profound failure of partnership. His belated claim of past love is irrelevant to those wounds. It doesn't address the harm. It tries to rewrite the history of the harm. You only say something like that if you believe your words hold divine, healing power, and that the other person's sense of reality is subordinate to your narrative. Robyn's enlightened enough comment is the most damning evidence of their cult mentality. It's a mechanism of control. It says, our irrational behavior is actually supreme wisdom. Your logical offense is a sign of your lower spiritual state. To be part of our circle, you must abandon your own sense of reason and accept our absurdities as truth. David, to his immense credit, would not cave. I don't cave to their pressure, he said. Common sense and logic comes to me. No logic comes to that. He called it what it was, a manufactured story to justify nonsense. Suki, the host, kept trying to force the square peg into a round hole, acting as a messenger for Kody and Robyn's warped perspective, asking David to understand his thought process. David's refusal was glorious. Do I want to understand his thought? No, I don't want to. His thought process is way in left field somewhere. He rejected the very premise that this thought process was worthy of understanding, because to entertain it is to legitimize a fundamentally abusive worldview. Kody's own language further betrayed his arrogance and lack of grounding. His now infamous line, "It wasn't a lie, but it wasn't true," should be studied as a perfect example of manipulative doublespeak. Let's be brutally clear. If you say something that is not true, that is the definition of a lie. His attempt to create a mystical, middle ground category is gaslighting 101. It's designed to confuse, and make the listener question their own grasp on reality. Then, in his apology to David for the bro code violation, he revealed his condescending classism. He works in construction, and he talks about things that are different than I understand them. Just as Robyn hinted at a lack of enlightenment, Kody implies David's world and his codes are simpler, lesser, because of his profession. Both comments are meant to other him, to place David beneath them on their self-constructed hierarchy of being. They believe their spiritual celebrity status elevates them above the common-sense morals of a man who works with his hands. Kody doubled down, stating, "If I feel like telling Christine I love her or that I loved her, that's not breaking bro code to me." He even added, chillingly, "If I want to say to Christine today that I love her, I would have no problem." Present tense. This is not about past healing. It's about asserting a perpetual, unchallengeable claim. He believes his right to speak his truth overrides anyone else's comfort, boundaries, or current marital vows. This is the mindset of an owner, not an ex-partner. This is where the profound failure of TLC and host Suki becomes dangerous. As I've asked before, why are we consistently putting a female host in the position of having to gently translate, justify, and mediate the warped, misogynistic perspectives of a man like Kody? Last night, Suki wasn't conducting an interview. She was acting as a cultural liaison for a harmful ideology. She repeatedly brought Kody's arguments back to David and Christine, asking them to absorb and accept them. "Are you seriously saying to me, Suki?" David finally snapped. "Is that what he said? That the only way that she can be released is if I release her? What is she, a slave? By platforming this, I must release them, narrative without robust, explicit challenge. TLC is passively perpetuating a trope that has real-world consequences, that women in high-control relationships are property, needing male permission for their autonomy. It romanticizes and sanitizes control as spiritual leadership." David's outburst was a moment of raw, unfiltered truth the show desperately needed. He named the dynamic property. Cattle. Slaves. This is how these systems work. The man is the gatekeeper to freedom, to salvation, to identity. When David said he would never have agreed to Christine going alone, some might incorrectly call that controlling. But let's be real. Kody Brown is a man with a documented arsenal of weapons, a volatile temper, a blatant disregard for rules that don't suit him, and a history of using people until they are depleted. He has shown no enduring respect for the humanity or autonomy of those around him. David's protective instinct isn't a red flag. It's a rational assessment of a potential threat. He doesn't want to understand Kody's left-field thought process because that process is the justification for emotional and psychological abuse. Suki, relaying Kody's claim that this was his testimony and enlightenment from God to release people, asked David to accept it. This is where the show becomes ethically bankrupt. They are asking the new husband of an abuse victim to sit and validate the abuser's mythological framework for that abuse. What kind of a God, David's reaction forced us to ask, would instruct a man to financially strangle, emotionally neglect, and publicly humiliate multiple women and their children, only to later claim that a performative release is the pinnacle of divine duty? It's a theology of convenience for the patriarch, and TLC is broadcasting it as a valid point of view. The insight that friends of Mary are begging her to leave the show because Kody can only abuse her if she remains in his orbit is a haunting meta-commentary on this entire situation. As long as TLC provides the stage and the paycheck, these women remain tethered to their abuser's narrative. Kody's apology tour is a prime example of that ongoing abuse, now extended to Christine through David. He is forcing his ex-wife and her new husband to sit through his self-serving soliloquy and accept his terms of her freedom. David's refusal is therefore revolutionary in this context. He said, no, he rejected the premise. He declared that Christine doesn't need Kody's permission, his love declaration, or his release. She never did. She claimed her own freedom. She might carry trauma from what was done to her. That is a separate, long-term process, but she is not bound to him. An abuser's favorite refrain is to tell the victim to stop living in the past and move on, all while ensuring they remain the central, controlling figure in the story of that past. Kody saying, "I release you," is the ultimate attempt to insert himself as the hero of her liberation story when he was in fact the jailer. Last night, Thanks to David Woolley's common sense and courageous pushback, we finally saw the sick, depraved underbelly of this specific flavor of control masquerading as faith. It's not just about a dysfunctional family. It's about a man who believes he is a god, a woman who enables it as his chief prophet, and a television network that packages it as drama instead of calling it what it is, a showcase of predatory behavior and spiritual arrogance. Christine has a good husband, one who sees a threat and names it, one who prioritizes her peace over politeness to her abuser. In a world where Kody and Robyn preach a toxic enlightenment, David's simple, logical, protective love is the actual healing force. This is only going to get more intense, but for the first time, the wall of their cult-like certainty has a serious crack in it. What did you think about David's reaction? Was Kody's "I did love you" comment out of line, or a necessary part of healing? Does Robyn's enlightened enough remark reveal their true beliefs? Let me know all your thoughts in the comments below. This is a conversation we need to have. If this breakdown resonated with you, please give this video a thumbs up. It truly helps this channel grow. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss our deep dives into the real stories behind reality TV. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.